Okay. Hi everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Conversations with the George Michael Singers. We have to try and abbreviate that at some point, but for now we're sticking with that. Shirley is here, but she's over there. She might make a guest appearance at some.
She's on holiday.
We've actually stopped off at a services on the way back from Leeds, and we had a great show last night. It was absolutely, I'm going to say phenomenal again, because that's the word of this tour. That's why I keep saying phenomenal. I never say phenomenal.
The next one's going to be amazing, right?
Yeah, the next one's going to be amazing. But what we thought we would do is start talking to some of the band members, because they are so incredible. We are so blessed to have the band that we have. Why is that saying 59 seconds? Okay, all right, okay.
We're recording.
Okay, perfect. This is the wonderful, the most incredible, talented Michael Brown.
Yay! Clap for myself.
He does
No
that on
pressure, no
stage.
pressure.
I love it when you do that rocking movement on stage. You're just so in the groove.
Oh man.
Michael Brown, tell people, like, what's your story? What's your background? How did you become a guitarist? How did you become a musician? Have you got a musical family? You know, like, tell us a bit about yourself. Let them know.
Okay.
Blow your own trumpet.
Yes, I'll blow my own trumpet. Yeah, I grew up in a,
Sorry.
I grew up in a Christian home. My dad's a pastor. My mum's
Really?
an evangelist. Yeah.
Wow.
And my dad, he used to work at the railway. So I used to work for British Rail. He built King's Cross, basically, put the lines down and stuff. But anyway, one day he was driving home from work and he saw a guitar sitting on the pavement, and he stopped, he picked up the guitar, couldn't play at the time. Anyway, he went to a friend of his who strung it up for him, and he got guitar lessons. And,
What your dad did?
Yeah, my dad did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And basically, I must have been about 5 or 6 at the time. He found it 3 years earlier, so you can work the age of me out. Anyway, he decided 25. That he was good. Sorry about that, Pete. Yeah, he decided that he was going to teach me the guitar. I've got 7 brothers and sisters, by the way, and all of us can play music.
Really?
Yes.
And what,
Yeah.
can you all play the guitar?
Everybody, yeah. My sisters, everybody in my family. Basically, so he taught me how to play the guitar. I seem to pick it up better than the others. They're going to kill me for this. I don't care.
Speak the truth, man. Speak the truth.
And so progressing on from there, I became, got to about 13, and Dad said, you know, it's time you start playing in church with your brother. I've got an older brother, and he was playing the bass at the time, and we started to play in church, and we had this lady who was coming over. Her name was called Shirley Caesar. She was like a big gospel artist, and we had to learn some songs of hers. Now, back in the day, it used to be the record, you know, I don't know if many of you know about records.
Records, as vinyl, you mean?
Yeah, vinyl.
I would imagine that most of our audience will know about vinyl.
Yeah,
Well, they better know, otherwise
so that's how we learned her tracks off the vinyl. So we used to try and slow down the record. We had 33, 78, and 45.
42, 45, that's it, 45.
So we used to slide down to 33 and, you know, try and redo the record back to front to try and actually learn.
Oh my God, you are
songs.
literally taking me back to my childhood right now.
So anyway,
I was too young for that. I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, that's how we learn her songs. Anyway, Shirley Caesar, if you go and check her out on YouTube or whatever, you'll find that she's actually one of the biggest gospel artists in the world, even today. So that was my first gig.
Wow.
After that, I went on tour when I was about 17 with the Inspirational Choir. They were signed to CBS. They had a big hit with Madness called Wings of a Dove. So I went on tour with them, university tour. That was when I was 17. In 18, I went music college. I met the young man called Roachford, and from there he got a record deal, and I was able to work with him on his record deal. It was about 21 then. He was signed to Sony Music, as they call it now, but it was called CBS. So I did his first album, which got the Cuddly Toy, Nobody But You, Family Man, that album, which went gold and stuff. And then after that, I fell out of the music for about 4 years. After that, I'm just cutting things short.
No, that's
here.
fine. Can I just ask you, why did you fall out of the music? Was there a reason?
Oh,
Did you fall out?
yes, there is a reason. I got ill while I was on Roachford, and basically,
you don't have to share that if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so so I got
I'll
ill,
ask questions,
and
sorry.
basically, they got another guitarist, which was fine. And then I decided that music wasn't for me anymore. After that, for 4 years.
Wow.
And then got back into the music through a young lady badgering me to come and play in her band, her local band. Went back and played. After about 2 years, I was terrible. But she had. I was terrible. I wasn't practicing or anything.
Keep it real.
And she said to me, "Oh, Mike, that was really great." And then something just clicked inside of me and said, "You know what? Maybe I should practice." So back then you could go on the dole. You could go on Universal Credit now, but go on the dole. I went on the dole for 6 months and I just practiced really, 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 really hard. And
Thank God you went on the dole and practiced.
and then came back and I started to try and get gigs again and stuff like that. And funny enough, I met my wife, Claudette, and that was another story for another day. We got married, and then I got a call to do Gabrielle, so that was my way back into the industry. Dreams can come true.
Nice.
I suppose you guys know that, and that was my way. Yeah,
And dreams can come true.
Yes, they sure can.
We're doing it. We're living it right now.
Yeah. Anyway, got Gabrielle, and then I started to get back into all the session stuff, and then as time was going on, was working with different people. Not important for this actual
Conversation.
Yeah, you have to help me out here. Working for different people, and then
Are you going to say how you met George?
I am coming to that.
Oh, okay. What's so
I am
exciting?
coming to that. So, and then I used to work with a hip hop artist. I can't remember his name now, but a guy called Rory and James used to produce this hip hop artist. And I remember them calling me. This was about 2002. This was. They called me and to work with this hip hop artist. It was about midnight. They were in Brixton. Came down. I did a couple of takes, and they were like, "Man, that's great. We'll see you later." But I was vexed because I was coming from a rehearsal that day, so I was really vexed. So I just did it quick and went home. Anyway. A year later,
angry guitar player.
angry guitar. It was angry guitar player. Anyway, a year later, James or Rory, I can't remember which one of them. One of them called me and they said, "Listen, I'm working with George Michael." And I went, "Really?" They went, "Yeah, but he needs somebody to come down and do a demo for him of a song called Amazing." So I was like, I was laughing.
Can you remember roughly what year that was?
That was 2003.
2003.
Yeah, and this was about September time.
Okay.
So I went and I did that, and Rory said thanks. We were going to send it on to George. It was James actually, one of them two anyway. I can't remember. And so they sent it on to George. 2 weeks later, I get a call from. Ken Watts. That's right. And Ken Watts says, "Oh, hi, I'm working with George at the moment."
Hang on one sec. Ken Watts is, was George Michael's tour manager, who's sadly no longer, for a very long time, and he's sadly no longer with us. So God bless Ken Watts.
God bless
sorry,
Ken.
just giving
Anyway,
them
a tenacity of the story. Anyway, so Ken Watts called me and he says, right, George would like to meet you at Air Studios. So I said, okay. So he said, can you be there in 2 days' time? So I said, yeah. So I moved a couple of things around, went to Air Studios, sat in Air Studios, and brought my guitars, sat in Air Studio for 2 hours, twiddling my thumbs, wondering if this guy's going to come or if this a prank, or if this a joke, you know what I mean? So anyway, that was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was, and 4 o'clock he walked in with a little dog.
Yeah.
And he walked in. He said, "Hi." He said, "You must be the new guitarist." So I said, "Yes." So he said, "My name's George." And I said, "Hi, my name's Michael." So he said, "Right." So he said, "We're gonna start." So anyway, he says, "I liked what you did on the demo, but I've got some other ideas. You know, I'd like to work some of my ideas, and if you've got any, you can pass them on." So I said, "Okay." So anyway, we start the session.
If you stop playing
No, he was just giving me the ideas with his mouth. You know, he was humming them, going da 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 da. You know, kind of humming the ideas. Anyway, we started. He goes, "We're going to start with the chorus first." And he goes, "Oh, before we start, I'm actually videoing this because I'm doing a documentary. Do you mind?" So I said, "No, I'll be all right." He said, "I'll pay you for it anyway." So I said, "Yeah, cool. That's no problem." So anyway, as we started the session, I played, and I turned around and I said, "Is that all right, Michael?" So he looked at me and said, "Yeah, that's okay. We're going to do another take. Same thing, but just with a little bit of variation." So I said, "Okay, do another play." So I turned around and I finished. He goes, "That was really good." So I said, "So you're happy, Michael?" So he looked at me again. So he didn't say anything. And then he said, "We're going to do another take, and this time we're going to kind of do this kind of vibe. Ding it, ding it, da, da, da." So anyway, I did that vibe, and then afterwards I said, "Was that one okay, Michael?" So he looked at me and said, "My name's George." He said, "My name's George." And I went, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, George. I'm so sorry."
Wow.
You know, I said, "I'm so
Michael."
sorry." I couldn't say Michael at all. I said, "I'm so sorry, George." And he goes, "You know what? We're going to call it a day. I think we've done enough work for today." So anyway, I went home and I was driving home and I goes, "Oh man, I must have messed up, boy." You know what I mean? So he said, "Come back tomorrow." So anyway, I come back the next day. So he starts to laugh. First thing he sees me, he shakes my hand and he goes, "Haha, you're a very funny guy." He goes, "I really like you, you know." He goes, "You had me in stitches all night. We kept rewinding back the video shot we took of you. If you could have seen your face," he said to me. So I was like, "Really?" So he said, "Yeah." So anyway, he said, "You know what? I like you. I want you in my band. I'm doing a 25 live tour in 2 years' time." And he said, "In fact, I'm doing the World Music Awards soon. I'd like you to come along." And the rest is history, basically.
I remember meeting you in Air Studios when you just finished your session.
That's right.
Because I came in and recorded the da 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 bits after Michael Brown had finished. So I remember you packing up, and I was thinking, and listening to your guitar playing, I was thinking, wow, he's cool, man.
And
He's
now
really
we have
cool.
him.
And now, now you're part of our journey, this new journey,
That's
making
right.
more memories.
That was brilliant.
Have you got any so you went on the 25 live tour, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I did, yeah.
So have you got any mad memories of that tour? I mean, you must have so many stories of touring, but is there anything particular story that sticks out or anything?
Wow.
I know, putting you on the spot a little bit.
You have,
Sorry.
yeah. There was so many moments. I mean, there was one where we was in this club in New York. Was it New York? Yeah, it was New York actually. And we had a few drinks and all that kind of thing. And George was there. And I remember George saying, "Right, I'm going now." So we said, "Who's going to pick up the bill?" And he said, "Don't worry about that. You know, I'll sort something out." Anyway, he left. And he didn't sort anything out. and we had to sort the bill out. You left as well, Jay. You guys had left yourself, and it was yeah.
You
it was,
said to him to speak the
that's
truth.
right, and it was me, Chris Cameron, Luke, and Steve, who actually picked up the bill for everybody. And yes, you left as well, Shirley. Shirley's looking there.
We had a
I
meeting
wasn't
here,
there.
didn't we?
Yeah. Joe wasn't there actually.
sorry.
But we picked up the tab. It was, and I'm not going to tell you how much it was.
Was it quite a lot of money?
It was quite a lot of money.
Cheers.
Yeah.
He's still waiting.
That was one memory. Yeah, still waiting to get the money back. You know what I mean? That was one memory. There was another one where we had George called us. I can't remember which country he was in, but George called us. He said he had a party. Don't you remember that? He called all of us, and we were just there, and it was just us and him. But he said the party was going to be for everybody, but it was just the band
Oh, when
and
we
him.
had that dinner.
That's right, when we had the dinner. Yeah.
That was
In the-
no,
that was
Symphonic.
25 Live. That wasn't Symphonic Live. That was 25 Live.
That was amazing.
We had the dinner, and we had the chat. We was all surprised because we was expecting all these other people.
And
it was just us.
him. And he just walked in, I remember,
Yeah,
just him
just
and Ronnie.
Him and Ronnie,
There was
that's
no one
right.
else.
There was no one else. And the band, that was it.
Yeah, it was great.
You know, so those are a few memories.
So, okay, so this, like, how are you feeling about this journey now? Obviously, we've lost him, and it's heartbreaking, and we've kind of that message gets across when we're on stage, and everyone can see how much love there is, between all of us and the audience, and we're all sort of healing through this process. Well, we are. How are you finding this whole process for you?
It's it's kind of refreshing in a funny sort of way, because it's been able to share and release what he actually gave to us. Because you have to remember, playing his music, he gave us something to actually give out to everybody else, you know what I mean? And being a part of his music, it meant that there was something that he saw in all of us to actually be a part of his journey to share. So that's how I feel. I feel like it's a release to actually just say, thank you, George, for being a part of the journey, you know what I mean? And so
No,
that's
by the
it.
way, I'm crying.
Yeah,
Is it?
started Shirley
And you were
off.
saying that.
You might need to speak up, Jake, 'cause I'm not sure whether
And you were
they'll...
saying about George liked the idea of you actually praying for the band.
Oh yes,
right.
that
Oh,
was
sorry.
another.
Major.
Yeah, that was another part. When I was in the studio, me and George we used to talk a lot, and before the 25 Live tour, I was in the studio more times, doing other bits and pieces with him. And one time we had to talk about me being a Christian, basically, and me being a person that really loves God and stuff like that. And he asked me a few questions, which I'm not going to reveal on here until the right time. But after we had our conversation, he said to me, "Is it a possibility that I could pray for the band and pray, with everybody, holding hands and stuff like that?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be no problem before each show." Yeah, and so that's what we did. So George was with us for the first 10, 15 shows, actually holding hands and praying, and me praying with the band. And that's how we started every show,
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Michael,
Beautiful.
honestly,
And it is Michael, it's not Michael.
Yeah, it's not George.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
thank
George.
you for sharing some of those stories with us.
Oh, that's all right.
And there's going to be more. But anyway, we'll leave you with that. I mean, we're so blessed to have you. We just, honestly, you're the funkiest guitar player I know. You're just in that pocket, man. I just love. We are so blessed to have this incredible band. So
And we think you're amazing.
Thank you.
bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye. See you later.